Sparking Change with Gigi, a show that aims to make the world a better place by bringing together authentic minds. This show encourages each of us to be the change we wish to see in the world. Get ready to be inspired and join us on this journey to create a brighter future for all.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sparking Change with Gigi. On this special segment of Why Women Rise, we're joined by Cindy Van Arnam, a true embodiment of authenticity and a champion of choice. Cindy's story is a testament to resilience, from heartbreak and addiction to an award-winning CEO and an unapologetic, authentic leader. I'm so grateful that you're here, Cindy. Cindy is a master of universal law and one of fewer than 2,000 trained in the original Book of Life numerology system. She blends cosmic precision and grounded strategy to really help others succeed. I'm so, inspired by your story, and I thank you so much for joining me today. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Cindy, and how did you get into really helping other women rise, because your story is one that I'm sure a lot many can relate to. So thank you for joining us, and thank you for bringing on your little furry friend there.
Oh my God. Mars is famous. He's on the internet everywhere because he always shows up when I go live.
Well, I have a Penny, so I wish I had her here too. They can probably chat while we do our show, but welcome.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, I think this conversation is so important because, I always use the line, if I can do it, so can you, because I see a lot of people in the world who use their trauma or things that happen to them in their lives as an excuse for why they can't have what they want. And I challenge that. I challenge that because I got out. So
yes, and it's so true, because you're not your story.
No.
Right? You're not your story. And I love for you to, talk about how you really went from, you made a decision and a decision that not many would make, to say, okay, I have an addiction and I'm going to go live somewhere that I'm going to go get help. And if I go back to this, there could be a very serious penalty, right? Yes. So tell us a little bit about that, because that truly, not many would take that leap. And you took the leap of faith. I would, what I call, to say, you promised yourself something and you kept that promise to yourself. So can you share that with us? Like, where did it all begin for you? Like, you don't just go and become addicted to alcohol or drugs. Where was your, moment that led you to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I had a really happy childhood. I grew up on this beautiful farm, 18,000 chickens. That's 6.2 million eggs per year. I am the fastest egg picker in the West.
Wow. You'll be a millionaire today with the cost of eggs.
Right? And yeah, so my family was, really tight knit. I loved my family. I never really had any challenges, but at the age of 16, my father passed away suddenly of a heart attack. And there were a series of beliefs that I developed in that moment. Men would always abandon me. The universe didn't have my back. And if you work too hard, you'll kill yourself. So at that point, I was a straight A student. I was the good girl, got the grades. I always made fun of kids in high school who were doing drugs at the time. And everything shifted after that because I didn't have any way of navigating the trauma of losing my father. And I went down the wrong path. So I started smoking weed, and then that led to meeting up with all the wrong boys. And that led to abuse after abuse after abuse, which then led to extreme cocaine addiction. I was doing so much cocaine that I was going for a week without sleep and without food. I weighed 100 pounds less than I do today. And I don't weigh that much right now. So it was really extreme. And, during that whole time, my mom, she knew something was wrong, but she didn't know what it was. Unfortunately, she was very naive, and I was able to lie over top of it and convince her that it wasn't anything serious. And as all drug addicts do, we lie. So throughout that whole process, though, because she knew something was wrong, my family kept saying, you know, you need to give her tough love. You need to kick her out of the house. You need to send her to rehab. You need to do all these things. And my mom refused. She wouldn't do it. And thank God for that. She kept saying to me, I love you, but I don't love your actions. And she said that over and over and over again. I didn't hear it. It took me 3 years to finally hear it. And then one day her and I were having this fight, and somehow it got through to me. It's like you hear the same thing over and over and over again. And then one day it just clicks in.
Yeah.
That's what it was like for me. And it was like everything just cracked wide open. And I saw my life 10 years down the road. And I went, oh crap, I can't do this. That I'm going to kill myself. And I hit my knees that day. I surrendered. I said to myself, I'm not going to live my life like that. I'm not going to end up 10 years down the road, dead, maybe homeless for sure, and with a series of health problems that I can't even imagine. So knowing that I am a
You said
rule.
that magic word, not to interrupt, but I just don't want to forget saying this to you. You said, I surrendered.
Yeah.
Right. And I want to get back to that. I'd like you to finish your story, but that piece right there is so important, I feel, because I personally had to do the same thing too.
Yeah.
Right. And there's a great meaning behind surrendering. Right. It's not weakness, but let me just stay focused on your story, and then we'll go back to that.
Yeah, I love that you bring that up, because it's not weakness. It's actually the scariest thing you'll ever do. It is the strongest thing you could do. It's that moment when you give up and realize that you don't really have any control over your life and you need to get help, right? So help looked a little different for me. My mom knew that traditional choices wouldn't work. I will never, ever follow a 12-step program. You give me a framework, I'm going to break it. I cannot play by the rules. I've always been that way my whole life. And so we knew that going to traditional rehab was not the option for me. And so I had to really sit with it and ask myself, what is the support that I need? And step one, I needed to just get away from it entirely. So I had a friend who had helped people in the past do this. He literally put me out in his cabin in the woods, took my phone and my car keys away, planted me on the couch with a big giant pot of soup on the stove and about 15 joints a day, because marijuana helps boost your appetite. It helps keep you calm when you've got anxiety. When you're coming off of something like that, you've got crazy anxiety. So I literally just smoked weed and ate soup and slept for 3 weeks. And after that, then I could actually get into the headspace of actually making solid decisions, because I was no longer like in active addiction. And I decided that I needed to completely remove myself from the situation, and I needed to go somewhere where I could get in a lot of trouble if I did drugs. So I moved to a country that had the death penalty if you do cocaine.
Wow. Wow. Like, that must have taken some courage for you
God. I was terrified. And honestly, when I landed in the airport, I went to teach English as a second language. So I had lined up a school and a job before I got there, and they were supposed to meet me at the airport. And now in Jakarta, Indonesia, very few people speak English. And I'm 22, 23 years old. I've never traveled really before. And here I am, straight out of drug addiction. And there's nobody at the airport greeting me.
Cindy, you have frozen, unfortunately, for a few minutes.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Let's see. Would you like to maybe come back in?
Sure, I can do that. Yeah.
So while we wait for Cindy to come back in, it's amazing how when you're ready for change, right? And this is a story that Cindy is telling us, like, she was ready for change. She made a commitment to herself, and she put herself in a place where there was no going back. She made a decision on how to move forward and how to change your life. And that's exactly what she did. So we're going to bring her back. But love to. Yes. So I was just telling my audience, you're back, and I think you're frozen again.
Oh, no.
Okay, now you're good.
Oh, you
You're
can hear
good.
me? Okay, good.
So I was just telling the audience that, you made a decision
Mhm.
because you want to change, and there was no going back. You're like, you literally went into a place where you're like, this place is going to help me get better.
Yes.
Wow.
I
And
thought
there
so.
was some serious consequences if you didn't follow the rules that you made. Think
Yeah.
about this. You made that rule,
Mhm.
right? You said that determination, like, I'm going here. So
Yeah.
you could not follow the rules of someone else, but you did
No.
follow your rules, which that's amazing. That's
Yes.
amazing.
And I think that's the point, really, because if you're going to live your life authentically and in integrity, it has to be an integrity to you and following through on the promises that you make for yourself.
Yes. And regardless of what consequences, right?
Mhm.
Regardless of what you have to go through, it's being authentic means you're promising yourself,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
You're respecting yourself first.
Mhm.
This is where it all begins, where when you make a decision that you say, I want more, I want better,
Yeah.
you're listening to your soul, basically,
Mhm.
right? And you say, okay, I hear you. I hear that little voice, and I do deserve better. And
Yes.
so what do we have to do to get better, right? And
Yeah.
you made it. So love to hear, yeah, that journey. So you were in a place, and how did
Mhm.
you, because you had to take baby steps, right? This didn't
Yeah.
happen overnight.
No, it did not. I hated Indonesia passionately. I had committed to a full year there. And in order to fulfill the contract at the school, if I fulfilled the year, they paid for my flights. So I was literally like stuck there. I had to stay there in order to get my flights paid for so I could go home. So living in that country, I ended up with bronchitis 9 months out of the 12 that I was there. I almost died of pneumonia in the hospital while I was there. I did not get along with the other teachers in the school. There was a lot, and it was awful, like the whole experience. But I learned so much. I learned so much about myself, about how to navigate when you're in a situation that you're not in love with, and how to really follow through on those promises that you keep for yourself. But when I was done my year, I thought, I don't want to go home. I'm not ready to go home. If I go home, I'm going to fall back into the same trap. And I'm going to just go back to my old friends and back into old habits. And at the time, I was going to this one bar in Indonesia all the time. And I met this very cute Kenyan boy on the dance floor. And he said, why don't you move in with me in Dubai? I said, okay, sure. So I moved to another country that has very strict rules around alcohol and drugs, and moved in with a complete stranger in Kenya, a Kenyan stranger in Dubai. So I was there for almost a year. And then my mom got really sick. She ended up with life-threatening surgery. So I decided to come home. I wanted to be with my mom and just kind of heal that relationship, because there was a lot that had happened through my addiction that had broken that relationship.
Right.
So I came home, immediately started making bad decisions again. I got a DUI, lost my driver's license for a year, and ended up in the middle of Canada in the prairies, pipelining for the oil field. And I thought, again, I had one of those moments where you just go, wait a second, is this my life 10 years from now? No, thank you.
That voice
And
came back again, right?
yeah, yeah. So I pulled up my big girl pants and took responsibility for my life. I moved back to British Columbia, where I live now, west coast of Canada, and I started diving into the personal development. So I started looking for any solution I could find. I studied the greats, T. Harv Eker, Brendan Burchard, Ryan Deiss, you name it. I studied it. I took T. Harv Eker's Quantum Leap program. I invested over $150,000 in my education and personal development. Yeah. And never implemented any of it. So I had a university education in how to build a business online, sales funnels, all the things, but I had never done any of it. So I knew how, I just wasn't implementing. And I find myself working behind the bar at a dive bar in my local town. I have a baseball bat behind the bar for my own protection because I'm closing the bar by myself. And I don't need to actually use the bat, but there was a night where I had to threaten somebody with the bat. And again, that voice came on in my head and said, is this your life in 10 years from now? And I got in my car that night. And as I was driving home, a song came on the stereo, and it's a song by Hailstorm, and it's called You Are the Fire. In that song, there is a line, and it says, you are the one you've been waiting for. And that moment of surrender hit again. And I hit my knees and I said, I am no longer choosing this life. So I actually went back to school as for event and promotions management, also hated that. But as I was doing that degree, I kind of found myself. And I decided to take everything I'd learned from all of the gurus and actually do something about it. So I started a business while I was in college as a virtual assistant. I wanted to help coaches.
We're losing you.
Oh, no, I'm frozen again.
You're frozen again. But you keep coming in and out. Okay, you're.
Oh, technology.
Yes, we have to love it.
Okay. Am I good now?
I think you're coming in and out, but you're okay. You can keep going.
Okay. Oh my gosh. Maybe the recording will work. So I wanted to help coaches, especially in the spiritual realm, those who are just service-based, wanted to help people make their lives better, make the world a better place. I wanted to help them build the back end so that they could create the foundation for their business. Most people that I find in that industry have a really hard time with technology, as we are having right now, and all the other pieces. And so I started as a virtual assistant, and I walked into a room. I volunteered at an event that had about 150 women of my ideal market in the room, and built my business off the back end of that room. But in that room, I met a woman who was talking about numbers. Am I still okay? Am I
You're coming in and out. You're moving a little bit, and then you're coming in and out.
Okay.
So, do you have a direct?
I do, and I don't even have I don't have anything open on my computer. I don't even know why it's doing this.
That's okay.
Solar flares. We can blame it on solar flares.
So let's take a quick commercial break. I'm
Sure.
going to play the commercial, and we'll come back, and maybe you can just check your connection.
Yeah.
And we'll be right back, everyone. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. And Cindy, you're still a little bit frozen there.
Oh, no. Okay, I'll come out. I'll leave and I'll come back.
Okay. So, yeah, it's amazing how when you make a decision, And you're meant for more. You'll always be getting clues, right? And Cindy was getting clues. Where she was going wasn't really where, it wasn't God's plan for her. Obviously, she's in a place where she keeps hearing that voice that wants more for her. So, I love the fact that she's listening to it. She's listening to it, and she's moving forward. Let's see. Are you back?
Now. Can you hear me now?
Your picture is not on.
Like, it's weird. I can see myself. Everything's working perfectly on my end.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, if it was this side, then I would be frozen, right? So there you go.
Am I back now?
Now you're back.
Okay.
But it's a beautiful frozen picture of you.
Oh my God.
Okay, now it's okay. Now it's better. Do you have it plugged in?
Yep, I've got the full setup. I don't even know.
It's how a car wire is not a Wi-Fi?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, let's continue. So
every once in a while I have these problems with internet, and it's often because the energy of the show is so intense. It's just causing ripples through the field.
Oh, well, that's a good sign.
Yeah, exactly.
It's great that we're going to see it from this point of view, right? Because there's always two sides to a coin. I say, which side are we looking at it?
Exactly. So, exactly.
But people can hear and sense you. I know you're frozen and you're coming in and out, but I think they're going to get the message on how powerful your story is, that you ignited a change within you, that now you're doing it for others. Mm-hmm. Whether it's through helping other coaches, or just even speaking to someone else that's out there that you meet in the supermarket. Mm-hmm. There's a light within you that has been lit, right? There's a flame within you that's burning to show people what's possible for them.
Yes, and it's a flippin' wildfire.
Yes, and I love that, and I think that is, let's go back to. Well, you were talking about the book of Life of Numerology and how you got into it. Can you just explain a little bit about that? Because I think that's also something that you use to, help yourself and help your clients, right?
Yes, absolutely. So I was in this room with 150 people, and this woman was speaking about numbers. And at this time, I was raised Christian, traditional. I had read the Bible and the Quran front to back because I'm a seeker and I like to know what I'm getting myself into when I sign up for something. And nothing had really hit home for me that much. And this woman was talking about numbers, and I very much need proof. I need, show me the evidence. And I thought, this is so far out there. No, I'm not buying into this. But there was something about it. And I just kept listening and listening and listening. And she was doing at the time a daily energy forecast on her Facebook profile. And it's just 5-10 minutes of her talking about the energetic weather for the day. And I thought, okay, well, I started listening to that. And all of a sudden I started to see it match up. And I was like, hang on, there's something to this. So I booked a reading with her. And for the first time since before my dad passed away, I felt seen. I felt like I had come home. And my soul just went, we need to know more about this. So I studied absolutely everything with her. She was one of my greatest mentors of all time. Unfortunately, we had a falling out. We no longer speak. But she taught me everything I know about energetics, around numerology. And you had asked what Book of Life numerology is. So Book of Life is actually referred to in the Bible. If you look at numbers, they are everywhere, including all over the Bible and in all sacred texts. But the Book of Life is actually a deck of playing cards. There are so many secrets hidden in the deck of playing cards, and it's actually been hidden in secret libraries around the world. There's actually only one book ever written about this system. He was allowed to go into these particular libraries and release certain information. So what this system does is it shows us, number one, who we are, but number two, and most importantly, what's possible for ourselves. So what it does is mathematically calculates who you were before you came into this planet and the possibilities that are available to you. So when I was first introduced to this system, believe it or not, I was very shy and I had never spoken publicly. I was behind the scenes. I was the tech girl. No. You would not see photos of me, nothing. And in this system, as I got this reading, the first thing that popped out was the possibility that I could be an exceptional public speaker. And when she said this to me, my heart did that little flutter, the stomach goes, oh, and of course my brain went, no, I don't want to do that, right? But I leaned into that possibility. Again, I made a choice. This is what I want to do. And so I did my very first Facebook Live. It was awful. It was the worst experience of my life. Maybe not the worst experience, but it was pretty bad. But then I just kept going and I kept doing it over and over and over again. And now you stick a camera in front of my face, and I'm like, blah, 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 I'll say anything, right?
And you know what it is that you shut the mind off, right? Because the mind is what's telling you, who do you think you are? Like, you know, you can't do this. And you know, what do you have to say? And then your heart's like, no.
I have things
I'm going to be a good public speaker and I need to start here. Yeah. So you're listening to your heart. And I love that because that's when we know we're on the right path.
Yes.
So yeah, love it.
Yeah. And I think, you know, you brought up something. I want to bring this back to the surrender piece because we brought that up at the very beginning. And I think this is threaded through everything in my story is the mind. Its only job is to keep you alive, which is a good thing. We need our mind, right? If the car is flying at you, get out of the way, right? If the saber-toothed tiger is going to bite you, move. But it's also because, right? But because it's designed to keep you alive,
yes,
that means every time you go and do something scary, your brain goes, no. So I moved to a third world country, terrified. Turn off the brain, surrender to what my heart wants, not what my brain thinks I should do, right? Start a business and be an entrepreneur. Same thing. The brain, who do you think you are? You're not smart enough. You're not good enough. All the stories, right?
Yeah.
But the heart goes, yeah, but we could, right? And so it's when I always think of surrender, there's this mirror of the no way out. You know, sometimes when you're like, technology, I love this metaphor today. When technology is fighting against you and you sit there and you click the button 100 times, you leave the room and come back in and it's just not working, you can either fight with it and then end up miserable, or you can just surrender and say, well, my video is going to be a little glitchy. You might miss a couple of words, but you're going to feel my energy and you're going to get it anyway.
That's right. That's right. It's what side of the coin are you looking at it? Yeah. Right. So it's our perspective and saying, wait a minute, are we going to let this get in the way of our success? Because this show, how it needs to turn out today is about, there's somebody who needs to listen to your message. There's someone who needs, you know, even if you're frozen, you're still talking. So they're still hearing, right? So, but it's understanding that you can let go, you can surrender, and the magic part is you can trust.
Yes,
you can trust. Because we're always, you know, the reticular brain says we have to be protected, and so that trust piece is so essential in everything that we do, right?
Yeah.
And the mind is not trained to trust.
Oh God, no. No.
So that's where, you know, I believe what you do and how you help other people to, you know, women to rise basically is to help them surrender and trust. Yes. Because everything else will flow. Because when we're not trusting and we're trying to do it ourselves, then what happens? We get disappointed.
Yep.
Right? Because we think we have to do it all and we're not trusting that same creator that put us here. You know, I call it God. People say the universe, but if we can stay connected to that. And I believe that's your journey. It's like you connected to that so well, right? Through your struggles, through
Yep.
your hardship. But
Yeah.
you made that connection. And even though, and I'm going to read you from the, from the outside, like you got connected and then you disconnected. You got connected and you disconnected. And you got connected and you're like, that's it. I'm done disconnecting. I'm
Stop trying
staying
to do this
connected.
alone.
Right? When you got into the numbers, your soul just, said, stop disconnecting with me. Like, I'm telling you the truth. Trust me. And I think that's why your life has transformed and you have risen, to the better version of you, to the best version of you.
Yes.
Am I
I
right?
love that you bring that up, the disconnect and the reconnect, right? Because yes, I did that in very extreme ways when I was younger. But even now, I always say, just because you do personal development work doesn't mean that bad stuff still doesn't happen. It's how you respond and react to it.
Yes.
And over the last few weeks, I've had some pretty big bumps in the road with things going on personally and professionally. And I noticed myself disconnect for about a half a day. And then I was like, oh, hang on a second. You have these tools in your toolbox, use them, right?
Yeah.
And so I instantly turned to where I connect into the numbers. And as soon as I did that, I was like, oh, I totally see why that happened. I get it. And it actually happened on purpose so that I could get over here and get what I actually want. So stop fighting it. Again, surrender, right?
Oh, I love that, because what you're saying is, what lesson did I need to learn from these, things that are happening right now that don't align with me, right?
Yeah.
So what lesson is it trying to teach me? And that's really, I always say in every show, we're in like, life is like, Earth is like school, right? It's like we are learning lessons. Everyone that we meet always has a special message for us, right? And sometimes when this gets in the way, we look at it as, you're doing something wrong or they're out to get you. And the truth of the matter is, no, you're being shown, what you need to learn, right? And how to, again, maybe bring in being more compassionate, or or just waiting and having patience, right? Like I can, I can relate to what you're saying, because, I step into nature, right? I'm like, okay, get grounded again. You're losing it, right? This is not what makes you feel good. So go somewhere where it makes you feel good. Put the music on, go out in nature, do something to get out of the negative vibration.
Yeah.
And so when you can have control of that, then who's in control of your life but you?
Yeah. That's what I always say. You're the one in the driver's seat. So where are you driving?
Yeah. And always have a destination, right? So I'm sure, as in your new role, and in the role of helping others, you help them see where they want to go, right? You help them bring out their gifts. One important factor that I love, that you and I really connect, is the fact that you have to get to your authentic self.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Especially now. Oh my gosh. There's so many. So I work in the online space. Social media is where I pretty much live and breathe. And I love it. I love it. But what I'm seeing in the industry right now is a whole bunch of carbon copies, especially with the advent of AI. And everybody's just sounding the same as everybody else. And we've lost the magic, the secret sauce, which is your humanity and your unique, weird, wacky, wonderful self. And so I always say to my clients all the time is, what is that one thing about you that you're absolutely terrified to share on social media because you're afraid somebody's going to judge you for it? Go do that. Post that. Because that's what people care about. People don't care about your perfect copy and your perfect marketing and your perfect sales, and it looks exactly like everybody else's and you're using the same words. But if I see somebody who's posted some behind the scenes and they are playing some weird sport, or they've got some weird plant in their backyard, I'm like, ooh, tell me more about that, right? And attention is the currency of the internet. So if you're not grabbing people's attention, and the only way to do that is through your authenticity, then you've lost the battle already. So you've got to show up as you, and you've got to say the things that you're afraid to say.
Yeah. It's so, and that's stepping into that new version of you, that authentic version of you, because we've been trained, conditioned that, we have to go on to say this. We have to show, 7 steps. I mean, and I've done it too, right? It's like, okay, here's a structure. Let's follow, what social media is telling us to do. Then you see somebody showing a picture of a bird, from their window, and it's like got 1 million views. And here you are, doing something by the book.
Right? Yeah.
So, I love the fact that you're like, forget the rules, right? Forget the rules. Because and yes, there's rules that we must follow that are very important to keep us safe.
Yes.
But, to step outside the box and create your own rules is another thing. Yeah. And we're so conditioned to following the rules, right? Because this, as a prior school teacher, I can tell you that, we set the rules, like you don't sit down, do the do now on the board. Do not speak until you raise your hand and I call on you. Like, I'm sorry, but we created robots from the
exactly.
And the we did not allow. Okay, I'm not gonna say we. I did not allow my students to be creative because I had to get the curriculum done. I had to teach them everything they needed to know so they can pass the test.
Yeah,
I didn't allow for them to explore what was on their mind and be creative, right? But then when I did an art activity, it was like the things that they will create was like, oh my God, if you can like have a test on this, you'll be passing with flying colors.
Right? Yeah.
So it's amazing how, when we are authentic and we just tap into our creativity, what can come out of it is something so unique that there is no competition. You're so unique, right? So you take your gifts, you share them, and you don't have to worry about competing, and looking at the other person. In fact, you can probably call up the other person and say, how can we collaborate?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah. And it's funny. I always say, I love that you brought up the creative expression, because I wish that AI would do my dishes and vacuum my carpets. Like, I don't want it to replace my creativity, right?
In a couple more years, you will have a robot in your house to do that for sure.
Right? Oh my gosh. And I think that's so important, is that, our imaginations cannot be replaced by artificial intelligence. It just can't. And this is where the magic is, right? When I see content, especially content that I've written in the past, where it's maybe not connecting, maybe not resonating, I maybe was experimenting with AI to see how it worked. Yeah. It does not hit in the way that content that I just write from the heart hits, right? That storytelling content, the piece where I'm just sharing a piece of my heart, or I'm hitting home with something that, I believe in this, I stand for this, I disagree with what other people are doing in the industry, and I'm saying it bold and proud, and this is who I am, right? Yes. Yes. And take it or leave it. You might love it and other people might not like it. I always say I may not be your cup of tea, but I might be your glass of rosé.
I love that. There's 8 billion people on this earth, right?
I'm not trying to please all of them.
That's right. We can't please every one of them, but we can please some where they're going to connect with you, feel your heart, and you're going to lead them on the path where they're living a better life, right? Yes. They're not suffering. They're not thinking lack, and this is one thing that I know I had to overcome, right? We live life on autopilot. Right? There's things that we do that create, a pattern. And every day, you get up, if you look at, and this has been scientifically proven, that we are living 90% or more of our every day is the same thing that we do.
Yep.
So it's a pattern. And we have to shift that. If we want to see different results in our life, we can't look outside to give us the different results.
No.
It all happens here. So we have to shift the thinking, the mindset, and the actions, that we're taking. So how do you help your clients to do that, to kind of move from their common pattern to like their true magic.
Yeah.
And go in that direction.
My clients laugh because I sound like a broken record. I am famous for the line, awareness is everything. If you are not aware of what's going on in your day to day, if you're not aware of your subconscious habits and subconscious thoughts, you can't change anything.
Right.
So the more you focus on being aware, what am I thinking? What am I feeling? What habitual habits am I doing that actually aren't serving where I want to go? Who am I being as I'm moving towards this goal? Am I being the old identity, or am I stepping into the new identity and acting as if? Right. And so,
Right.
Yeah, I just say awareness is everything. Question every
No,
single
I
belief.
love that.
Question every belief, question every thought, question every action. Does this work? Does this really take me to where I want to go? And from there, that's where you can really start to make the shift, because once you see the pattern, I actually disagree that you can break a pattern. I don't think that that's true. But once you see the pattern, you can interrupt the pattern more often.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I think it would be, if I'm understanding correctly, it would be good for them to actually take an inventory, right? And write it down. Because sometimes when you write it and you see it on paper and you're like, am I actually doing this?
Yeah.
Am I actually sabotaging myself when I say, you dummy? I can't believe you just did that. Right? Like very simple things like that.
Yeah.
You bring to your awareness and you're like, wait a minute, I just killed that desire of me doing something because of my talk. So it really comes down to doing what I call inner work.
Yeah. Always. Right? Always.
So I call it an inner job. Like it's an inside job.
Yeah. 100%.
And when we understand that if you want to change your identity and you want to break some patterns or interrupt the patterns, as you say, then you must take an inventory and start saying, what can I do instead? What do I want instead? What can I say instead? Yeah. And that is work that you're making a commitment to yourself. So do you kind of help your clients to go through that process? Because doing inner work, we're never taught to do that. I mean, I have 2 master's degree. No one ever told me you got to go into an inside job and you got to go inside and see what you're saying to yourself.
Right? Yeah, they don't teach that in school.
They don't teach that in school. But I will.
I do help my clients a lot with the awareness piece. I work with a universal law called the law of divine timing, and it has 6 stages of transformation within this law that I work with on a very deep level with my clients, not only for their own inner work, but offer creation, all of these other pieces. And the biggest thing is really, I don't take responsibility for my clients' actions. I show them the possibilities through their numerology, through this lens of divine timing. I say, this is where you could go if you pay attention and you're aware and you feel your feelings and you take responsibility for your life. But it's not my responsibility to get you there. I am not a hand holder. I am not a coddler. I am going to tell you exactly, you're doing it again. Are you going to continue to do that, or are you going to choose something differently? Right? I'm going to call you out on it, but I'm not there to like guide you through and hold your hand, because like you said, it's an inside job.
Right.
I'm on the outside looking in. I can't actually help you change yourself. I can guide you. I can show you the pathway. I can show you the possibilities, but you're the one who's going to have to pull up your adult pants and get the job done.
Absolutely. And I think that comes from because you've experienced that, just like you made that decision to say, you know what, I'm going to go to that country because I'm making a decision that I don't want to do drugs anymore.
Yep.
Right.
Exactly.
You make a decision. There's no going back. And I, my own personal story of, I was diagnosed with breast cancer and I'm like, I will change. I will stop smoking. I was smoking at the time. I'll do whatever it takes for you to give me another chance.
Yeah.
Right. So surrendering, making a commitment to yourself and really saying, I'm ready. I'm ready. Yeah. And that's why you really don't have to hold your clients' hands, because the clients that come to you are the clients that are ready.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly.
And so it may be that they just need a little push, but inside there's something bigger than them to saying, I want to change. I
Yeah.
want the better life. I want to enjoy all the best that life has to offer.
Yes.
Right? I'm not going to struggle any longer and looking at that I don't have enough, because there is enough for everybody.
Absolutely.
We're just trained. We were trained or conditioned, whatever you want to call it, to believe that we must work really hard to make money, and we must keep it forever and never put it back out there in the world and put it under our mattress, right? And that is just the wrong thinking, because how do we grow? How do we grow? You know, we can't stay the same. Everything changes. We change too, whether we like it or not. We're going to change, and it could be change for the better or for the worse, but we do get to choose, right? We do get to choose.
100%. I love that you brought up that change. I think it's one of the things I say all the time is the only thing that's constant in this lifetime is change. And if you're not changing and consciously changing, then you're dying. So what do you want to do? Are you going to live or are you going to die? I choose to live.
Oh, kudos to that.
Sure. At full blast too.
That's right. That's right, because we can do that. You know, you mentioned, and I love you said you got to peek at personal development, right? And so did I. You know, I remember, and it just happened again last couple of days, but Bob Proctor, I'm sure you heard of.
Oh yeah, I met him in person.
Phenomenal. Did you?
Yes.
Oh, no wonder we get along so good. So Bob Proctor was on the screen, and he was teaching a course called The Paradigm Shift. And he's teaching for 5-day, you know, a webinar. And on the last day, so every day I'm looking at, and I'm going to try to get to the point here, but there's signs. We're always being given signs. And if you're paying attention, you'll feel it, you'll see it, you know, and this is what Bob did for me in the personal development when I got into that work. The 5th day, which was the last day, we had to make a decision whether to buy the program or not. But throughout those days, those 4 days, I'm seeing all my family names, you know, Madeline, Chris, Dominic, you know, Frank, every name. But my mom is in heaven. So I go, Mom, if you pop up, and her name is Bianca, very unique, not a common name, you know, like Mary. I'm like, if you pop up, then I know you want me to do this.
Yeah.
So Bianca didn't pop up once, but she popped up twice on Friday. Right. And that was my entry into personal development. And what I want to say here is that once you start to learn about you, you'll never forget that information you learned. Right.
You can't unsee it.
Right. You connected and disconnected, but you always look, you know, your mind goes back, or your heart goes back to what they told you about you.
Yeah.
And so that creates that transformation, that not only did you begin your journey, but now you're helping people see that as well, because we're not taught to learn about ourselves. Right. And you said you spent a lot of money to learn you. It's no, go learn how to be an architect.
Yeah.
Spend a lot of money to go learn to be a lawyer.
Yeah, go stick yourself in a box of someone else's making, plug yourself into their framework, and then try to enjoy your life. Like it, no thank you.
It's not a good formula, because a lot of them are, you know, full of stress, right? So, but when you start to go and learn about yourself, like what really brings you joy.
And giving yourself permission to be yourself. I think that's the biggest thing. That I see a lot of that, like self-discovery, and then I see it happen, especially in astrology, numerology, human design. You get these readings, and then you're like, well, I can't do that because I have this in my chart, right? And I think that's a bunch of hoo-ha. You are not at the whim of what your numerology or astrology or human design chart says. You are not at the whim of the patterns in your brain that say you can't have something. It's giving you information, and you get to choose what to do with that information. Right. So I know for me personally, in my numerology chart, one of my biggest lifetime struggles is self-worth. And I have struggled with that my whole life. Hello, addiction and abuse, right? And it's still, this is why I say patterns don't break, because it's still there. It's always there because it's my biggest growth pattern in my entire life. I'm just navigating it at different levels now. And so I catch it and I go, oh, I said that I didn't do enough. I didn't write enough content. I didn't share enough about my story, right? And I hear it and I interrupt it. But it's not like, well, I'm this in my numerology chart, so I can't go share my story because I'll never be enough. That's a story that we're telling ourselves.
That's right.
Right? Whereas instead I can say, okay, I'm going to share my story and I'm just going to share who I am and I'm going to pour out my heart and soul and I'm going to choose that it's enough. And then my brain goes, but what if it wasn't? But it is. But what if it wasn't? It is. Right? Sometimes you have to make the choice 100 times a day, but we keep choosing.
That's right. And this is how you create your new identity.
Yeah.
Right. And I met you and you got the beautiful Star Award. Let's talk about that a little bit because, you earned, where is it?
Right there.
So, yeah, that's right. You see it. And when you got that award, Cindy, what was that voice inside of you saying? Because now it's the other voice, right? It's the voice saying, I know what it was saying, but I'm going to have you tell us, what was it saying? Because I saw you were glowing. Yeah. When you went up there, you were glowing. And there's a part of me inside of me saying, wow, here's someone who could not see this far out, but she took a chance on herself.
Yeah.
Right? That's what I saw. I saw someone who beat the odds, right? Beat the odds, because there's a lot of people out there, they're trying to do that. Mm-hmm. And, you can show them how. But when you got that award, tell me, how did that make you feel?
Well, I'll censor myself because the words that were in my head are not safe for public consumption. But it was very much just, it was actually, it was a place of awe, of holy crap, look at what I did. And a place of deep honoring of my story and what I've overcome. And that wasn't easy. It was not easy to first tell my story, because to tell your story on a podcast or to tell your story on a social media post, yeah, it's technically going out to the world, but really how many people see it? This film that I've won this award for is going out to 450 million TVs around the world. That was again, one of those, okay, let's go moments in my life. And thank you, Teresa Goss, for everything that she did. And Danielle Watkins, who was the story writer. I told my story on stage at that event, and Danielle came and she said, I'm going to write this story. And I went, okay. What does that mean? Right? Yeah. But to see the movie for the first time on the big screen in Vegas, to get these awards, 7 International Film Festival awards now, I'm still speechless about it. It still doesn't quite flow off the tongue in the way that I want it to, because it's such a big deal. And I honor that. I respect that. And in doing so, respect myself, because I was the one that did it.
That's right. And you listened to your heart and you pushed through no matter what was in front of you, right? Mm-hmm. You kept making a champion choice.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm going to win this battle. Like, nothing's going to stop me. Yeah. And I believe that this is why you're here and why you're helping so many. Because you became unstoppable. Yes. And you know that if you can do it,
anybody can.
Anybody can. Yeah. Right. And so we look at ourselves and we say, well, that's so private. Like, I don't want to share my story. And but you're meant to share what you go through. What was it? Your message. Right. Yeah. Isn't that what they say?
Yeah. And your story is the thing that could change somebody's life today. That's and right. Your story is not a woe is me, this happened to me, keep me in victim mode. Your story is why you are the person you are today. The old phrase, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? I look back now at my experience with absolute awe and gratitude. I think about the times when, I was getting abused by a boyfriend and snorting cocaine up my nose. And I am like, thank you so much for that experience, because like you said, now I'm unstoppable.
That's right.
Bring it.
I love it. So last question.
Sure.
What would you leave the audience with regarding to the power of choice? Because you've made a choice that absolutely, you went 360, like absolutely.
Like 4 times. Yeah.
And you're not giving up, and you keep going.
Yes.
So what would it be if you had to tell someone to just make a choice? What choice?
Making the decision is probably the hardest part. It really is. And then your brain tries to figure out how, right? So, if I think about the decision I made to go to a third world country that has a death penalty if you do drugs, my brain went, what? How am I going to figure that out? Right. And the key is that how is none of your business.
That's right.
All you have to do is make the choice, and then all the energy in the field will reorganize itself to support you in getting what you want. Beautiful. That's how it works. It's solid science. Look it up. It's literally about the energetic decision. So a choice is not, I'm deciding in my head. That's not enough. If you make a decision in your head, you're going to have a bad day and you're going to quit.
Mm-hmm.
If you make a decision and it is a full body, every cell of your body is lit up, the goosebumps or the flutter in your stomach, that's what's going to keep you moving forward. When you know that you're committed to it and you are like, I am all in, there is no plan B. Hello, third world country, right? I'm just going, and I'm going to leap off the edge, and I'm going to build the airplane on the way down, right?
Wonderful.
And find the support that you need. Also, please don't do that alone.
So wonderful. And I hope everyone has, got that message through. Just make a decision. I mean, it might not be easy, but you can make it happen, right? Anyone who wants to contact you, they can go to fullblastcoaching.com.
Yes, and you can find me all over the internet, so just Google me.
And I believe you have a free gift on your website.
I do. I have a couple of different free gifts. There's a couple there around numerology and the divine timing cycle that would be helpful for anybody. Beautiful.
Well, thank you so much, Cindy, for joining us today. It was such a pleasure having you here and sharing your story, and wish you the very best. Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for joining me on Sparking Change with Gigi. I hope that our episode today has ignited a spark within you to create positive change in your own life and in the world around you. To learn more about how you can become a guest or supporter, head over to sparkingchangenow.com.